What's going on? I got a very special guest today. We got Mr. Dale Young. Just recently connected. I'm super excited to dive in, hear a little bit more about your story. Dale, what's going on, my man?
Oh, Coach Rob, I'm so honored to be here and be able to share some things with you today.
Perfect. I love it. I'm excited to have you on. Really interested in hearing a little bit about your story. But before we dive into your story and your coaching and everything you've got going on, would you mind just giving a little bit of background on who you are, who you help, what it is you do? Kind of share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, who I am, I'm a calling coach, and many people have never heard of what a calling coach is, but I believe that calling is bigger than mission or passion or career, even bigger than purpose. I think it's something that is a spiritual pull that draws you forward and it encompasses all those things. And so
Mhm.
I help people really dive deep into what their calling is, how they get through that, and then help them actually follow their calling once they've got that done. So, yeah, I'm really deep into the spiritual side of things, and especially the Christian side of things.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you're so involved into everything here. And how did you get to where you're at? Like, did you just wake up one day and it kind of clicked, or
Yeah, no. It's been a 30-year journey, and 10 of those years was basically uh, dealing with my old career and dealing with my new career all at once. Uh, and really, it's probably been in the last couple of years that I've really dived deep into the calling side of things. So, yeah, it's definitely been a long-term struggle.
well, it's those struggles that kind of pull the best things out of us, right? Would you say?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I've been actually dealing with the topic of hope for another presentation this week, and really hope shows up. It seems to show up the most when we're in the most desperate situations. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and I've certainly been through a lot of desperate situations in my life. It's one of those things that that's where we grow. I mean, you grow when you overcome the struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, but that's
yeah.
that's that's a tough part there. So, do you help individuals overcome those struggles? Is that where you kind of come in, or do you specifically help with? How do you fall into helping others find their calling and stuff like that?
Sometimes it is when people are in struggles, for sure. Sometimes it's just that people have this internal draw or internal desire that says, I'm made for something more. I'm made for something different. I'm made for something bigger. And when they start getting those kinds of feelings, that's when I can really come alongside them. And I'm not going to tell them what they should be doing. I'm not God. I don't know them enough to be able to tell them exactly which way they should go. But I can help them clarify which way they want to go and help them through questioning and such like that, help them figure out what really is this. I use some Bible verses in my coaching, and Proverbs 20 verse 5 is one of those good ones. The purposes in a person's heart are like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw them out. And so that's what I think about as a coaching verse. You've got these deep desires in your heart that maybe you haven't ever examined, maybe you haven't ever taken them out and looked at them or really decided if they were really what you were going after. A lot of people fall into the trap of just doing the job because their parents wanted them to do it or because
Mm-hmm.
it was something that they fell into or something easy for them or whatever. But they don't never really connected that to what's the long-term result? Where are you going to get to long-term with it? And so that was certainly my story way back in 1992 when this journey kind of started for me. Anytime that they're just wanting spiritual growth, spiritual fulfillment, more peace, more direction, more joy, that's when I can come alongside them and really help them get through some of those things.
Mm. So, do you also deal with a lot of people who are trying to figure out something more because so when you're working with somebody and they're looking and they know they have that feeling, they're like, okay, I know I want to be doing something bigger, more than myself, and I have this urge, but then they're also stuck in their current situation and they can't quite get to that next spot. So how do you help them with that, or explain a little bit about that? Because I imagine that being a pretty big roadblock for a lot of people.
It is a roadblock for a lot of people, and it really comes down to, I think there's two big questions in life. One is, who are you? Who are you at a very deep level? And the way I say it is, who did God create you to be? Who did He wire you? How did He put all the desires and the frustrations and everything else in you? So, who are you is the first question, and then why are you here at this time, at this place? What's your big eternal purpose? What did God create you to do in this world, so to speak? So those two big questions. I've been dealing with the who are you piece for probably, I don't know, close to 10 years or so through my coaching. Like I said, the calling piece is relatively new, about 2 years old now. But the who are you piece can really help people when they are stuck or when they feel like they're in a dead end job and not going anywhere. How do I take these skills and get them into some other job or something like that? How do I get them into something that's more passionate? Or, how do I do a side hustle like you talk about? How do I start growing things that can maybe turn into something big long term that maybe I can quit that original job? So that's where I come alongside people and can really help them. I use an assessment called the Clifton Strengths. It's the old Strength Finder, if you've heard it, that term,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives a list of 34 talents. Talent being it's a thing that can be productively applied in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily tell you that your color of eyes is better or worse than anybody else. It doesn't do that, but it gives you things that are useful in the world. It may be empathy. It may be responsibility. It may be connectedness. All these 34 talents. What's unique about the Clifton Strengths is it doesn't say this one is uh, so much more greater than this one for you. It just puts them in a rank order from 1 to 34. And
Okay.
the way that Gallup says that these talents work, if you have the same top 5 talents as somebody else in the world in the same order, the chances are 1 in 33 million. Okay.
Wow.
Now that's pretty incredible right there by itself. But when you start going to the top 7 or the top 10 or whatever, you get to more than the number of people in the world. So it really does say that you are unique. God created you in a very unique way, very unique fashion, and He created you to do something, to accomplish something in this world. These strengths, these talents are a clue to that. And oftentimes when people are stuck in a particular job or whatever, that's when you can take the assessment, you can go deep and through the coaching on the assessment, and then you can come out and say, okay, I see why I'm in this job. I see why I'm making money in this job. I see why I'm frustrated in this job. How do I do something different that will work better for me and lead to, like I said, more peace, more direction, more joy?
Mm. So how does that process begin once you okay, so now you've taken the assessment, now you understand a little bit more about yourself. But so then how do you just do you know certain professions or certain things that people with certain strengths and weaknesses might be better with, and do you kind of guide them in that, or are you kind of like, hey, well, this is all about you. Now, what do you want to do, kind of thing? Like, so how
it's
so
a
how does that happen?
It is a combination. Some people will never consider professions unless they're suggested to them, right? But um, as an example, one of my first Clifton Strengths clients, she was very frustrated. She had self-published 16 books and she was owner publisher of a magazine and she was burnt out and this wasn't what she was supposed to be doing. She heard
Mm,
that very clearly from God and all that sort of stuff. I took her through this assessment and the coaching thereof, and it's like 5 sessions of coaching once you actually take the assessment. So it is a pretty intense, pretty deep coaching journey through that. But we looked at her stuff. We saw exactly why. Actually, it's a fairly funny story. The first thing that she said after she'd taken the assessment before we started any coaching, she called me up and said, "Dale, your test is broken." And I'm going, "Wait a minute. It's not my test and it's not broken. So tell me what's going on." She says, "Well, this says communication is number 14. I've self-published 16 books and I got this magazine thing here." And I said, "Okay, well, let's just trust the process." And by the time we got through it and got down to that, it's like, okay, I see why it's number 14. It's that communication in the Gallup sense is not about the writing or the creating of the words or being involved with the words. That's what communication is for the Gallup side of things. But what she was doing, she had done these 16 books, but like 12 of them were journals. And so she wasn't actually writing all the stuff herself. She was creating space for somebody else to write. And so that's why she was frustrated and burnt out in that job that she thought would be perfect for her, type of thing. And so she actually went and set up a virtual administration company. And in 30 days, she was fully booked with no advertising or anything else. She was looking for help, and she's now, almost 5 years later, she has created a company that she's got close to 20 people working for her part-time, and she's helping like close to 40 clients nationwide and just doing great. And actually, she's working at the point now where she's trying to take herself out of the business so that her team can just do all the business and she can just supervise and think about how do I grow the business.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty impressive success story there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how often do you run into people who might be hesitant or kind of against the whole self-discovery kind of thing? Because some people might think like, oh, I already know who I am and I know everything about me. I know my strengths and stuff like that. Do you come across anybody who's like, hey, I'm frustrated in this job. I know what I know. I don't need to take one of these silly tests to kind of figure out more information about myself. Like, do you still help people like that, or are those people maybe not mature enough or ready enough for that kind of next level thing?
That's a foreign concept in my world. And so probably I'm not going to get along with people like that, first of all. And, I'm just not going to be the right coach for them. I really do believe that if you're not growing, you're dying. And so if you're not interested in learning more about yourself, if you think you know it all, you're probably not a client for me. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you on that too. I come across so many people myself, specifically in the fitness and nutrition kind of world, and they're always telling me, "Oh, I need to do a little bit more or this or that, and to get in a little bit better shape." And I kind of go into them like, "Okay, well, hey, what have you been doing? What are some things that you've been trying, or what are some things that have worked in the past?" And then they come back and they like, "I know what I'm doing, blah 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 blah." I'm like, all right, well, if you know what you're doing, how come you're struggling through the same issue that it's been going on for a little while now? And then they're like, I just need you to write me this, that, or something else. And I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily that. I don't know if maybe we're right fit. I think maybe we need to work a little bit from a different angle. So I was curious a little more about on like this, on how you might handle certain situations like that. But I like that you kind of know exactly who you're helping with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the old classic Dr. Phil line, right? You know all this stuff, you're doing all this stuff. How's that working for you?
Yeah.
If it's working for you, great. I don't need to be around you. If it's not working for you, are you ready to make a change? People only change because of two reasons. They either change because they have so much pain that they want to get out of it and they want to change, or they see the benefit, the potential pleasure, the potential enjoyment, potential enrichment type of thing. And so that's the only two reasons people ever change, is one of those two reasons. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into you specifically. So I heard you mention a little bit before that you were working another job. Are you still working another job now while you're still coaching, or what is your professional kind of setting looking like nowadays?
So my profession, as it started out, I actually started out in IT in college, and actually at that time it was just called computer programming, and I kind of grew up with computers. I got my first paying job in 1973, and I was actually being a computer programmer on campus before I ever graduated college. That was a great start to the career. And I worked in IT for many years. Really, it was in 1992 that I had one particular case where uh, I, at the time, I was working in Australia. I was working for a defense contractor. I was making some crazy money, and everything was good. Seemed like, I mean, got lots of travel, all that sort of stuff. And they started taxing one of the benefits. And there was a group of us that were at lunch, and we were all just sitting around griping about this tax. And, oh, this is not right. And, oh, we're going to quit, and all this sort of stuff. I mean, the tax was, very little amount on this bonus, this great big bonus that we were getting. I was right in there with them. I was complaining, and out of my mouth comes these words. Well, this is just a job, not a career. And it was kind of in that moment that my heart finally got through to my head that I was not in the profession, in the career. I was not chasing the dream that I really needed to be chasing. And so through all that, that started that 30-year journey, which I say basically culminated with really settling on I'm going to go after my calling, and my calling is to inspire calling in others. And that's what I ended up with in 2022. So that 30-year journey was there. But, just because I said that in 1992 doesn't mean I changed everything, right? It took a long time. And so in 94, I got back to the States and switched jobs. 96, I switched jobs again, got into computer consulting. Had a pretty great career through that side of things, and then got into there were some things that happened that caused me to take up this side hustle of coaching. And so that side hustle of coaching, really, I heard about life coaching as a profession in 2007, and I looked for it, and I was kind of like, okay, I can't really find anything that brings in a spiritual sense. And I'd really over the last 5 years before that, I'd really dived deep into the spiritual side of things. And so I put life coaching on the shelf, and I didn't do anything with it. And in 2009, I'm walking through Half Price Books, and this book falls off the shelf and conks me on the head.
Literally?
And the book is figuratively, but the book is titled Christian Coaching. So I mean, it really kind of redirected me in a certain path. And 2011, I started coach training. I'm still working full-time in IT here now, mind you. At this point, I'm a director in this company where I'm working. And so, but I have a little bit of control over my schedule. But I start taking coach training, and then in mid-year of 2011, I get my first coaching client. And I've always had at least one coaching client all the way through ever since. But, ending up on the career on the IT side of things, it really was 2016 that I finally got out of full-time IT. And that was a big twist and a big journey change there. Because it actually came about, I'd been asking them, hey, can I go to part-time in this IT thing so I can concentrate more on the coaching side of things? And so they said that. So April 1st of 2016, I went from full-time IT and part-time coaching to part-time IT and full-time coaching is really how I say it. And then stuck around that company for another 5 years. Actually had some stock options and things at that company. And so I did part-time work. At first it was 20 hours a week, and then it went down to like 10 hours a week and whatever. But I was around that company till 2021. And so it was 5 years of full-time IT and part-time coaching, another 5 years of part-time IT and full-time coaching. And then as of 2021, I'm out of the IT industry. Except I do all this IT stuff for myself on the coaching side of things now. Yeah.
So it sounds like so during this long stretch of a period where you were kind of leading more into the coaching world, I'm guessing it wasn't because we just talked about how the people change for two reasons. It's either they're uncomfortable enough where they need to change or they finally see that bigger picture. Was it just you were just growing that sight of the bigger picture, or was the IT starting to increase with discomfort as you were kind of going with it? And do you think it would have been a much quicker process if it was a little more skewed?
Um, it would definitely have been a quicker process if it was more skewed. If the IT had not been so comfortable and so appealing to me, it would definitely have been something that would have been uh, a quicker transition.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, after a year of part time, I probably would have left if I had not had stock options at that company. As it
Hmm.
turned out, the stock options turned out to be, uh, a grand sum of $3,500 was the grand sum of what I got for sticking around for 5 years. So because they didn't actually do a lot over the strike price on the stock options. So so from that point of view, but I think everything works together for a reason, right? I think things work out the way they need to.
Hmm.
So so yeah, it was a case where I could see the pleasure that coaching would bring me. I could see the great rewards if I really dived into it and really got into it. But I was comfortable in the IT side of things, and it wasn't really painful enough to kick me out just yet. So, yeah. So,
So, so how do you handle a situation like that when someone comes to you and they're like, "Hey, I'm in a pretty comfortable position, but I I know that I need to be doing something bigger and better." Do you help them kind of paint the picture of the pleasure and benefits, or do you just kind of like, "Hey, we'll come back to me when things are a little more uncomfortable, and then we can kind of go from there?" Because I know a lot of people who know that they want to be doing something more, or they're just too comfortable where they're at, or the current job that they're in is just too cushy, and they can't make that because it's not there yet. So what do you
yeah.
do with that?
Well, certainly the first step with those people is helping them paint the picture. What does that vision look like? Where are they actually going to? What are the benefits once they get there?
Hmm.
Helping them really dive deep into all of that. And some of the coaches that I had certainly helped me do that. So I really appreciate their help going through that. But getting that vision, that uh, mission, so to speak, that's where my calling framework can come in and can maybe help them clarify what are they really trying to get to. A lot
Hmm.
of people they know it's something bigger, but it's this fog, right? It's this thing that's out there that they don't really know what it looks like or what it's really going to do, and they don't know how much pain there's going to be in the change to get there. And
Hmm.
so once you have a good vision and a good clear idea of where you want to go, uh, that's a lot easier to paint a picture on what the first steps are to get there. But even if they just have this dream, I need to move in this direction. Well, let's plan out 2 or 3 steps, and let's take those steps because one of the things I've learned is that action begets clarity. It's kind of ABC. Action
Hmm.
begets clarity. If you take some action, if you take a step, and it doesn't matter what direction, I can take a step backwards. I can see something different than from where I was, or I can take a step sideways and see something different from where I was. And so just take a step sometimes, do some action, do something that will tell you whether you're even moving in the right direction or not,
Mm.
and help them help them figure out what's kind of the smallest step that they can take that will get them into a different place so they can see something different.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely powerful stuff there because it's what is it? It's like analysis through paralysis. So like people
Hmm.
they think there's too many different things and then they end up not making any actions or decisions and then the next decision or next action that they actually take is a reflection and it's already 5 or 10 years down the road and they're like, wow, now I've wasted all this time And then sometimes people are even like, oh, it's too far now. It's too late to even change or get into something. How do you help people who experience something like that, where they're like, oh, it's too late for me to kind of do the thing that I wanted to do?
I will say, look at me. I just turned 70.
And
I've
you
been
look
doing this.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. I picked my parents well. So, but no, the thing is that, uh, I didn't really even start down this coaching journey. I was, let's see, in my 50s, 54 or something like that, before I started down this coaching journey. But I knew that this was something that was going to be in my future. And so I started taking small steps. You don't need to invest a whole lot of time, a whole lot of energy, or a whole lot of money just to take a small step and see if that direction is something that helps you more, or you can say, oh, that didn't really work for me. Let me pick a different direction.
Yeah.
So I call them low cost probes, from the old space system type thing, right? You don't send the great big rocket down to the moon. You send a little probe down to the moon and let it figure out all the details for you, so that eventually you take the great big rocket down to the moon or whatever. So yeah, put a lot of your energy into doing these low cost probes and these exploratory type things. Reading can be good for that. Talking with other people can be good for that. Talking with spiritual counselors can be good for that. Talking with a coach can be good for that. So there's all kinds of ways to do little trial steps and see if it's the right direction for you.
Oh yeah, I love that. And that's the second time you, or at least the second time that I can recall you mentioning having a mentor or somebody else to speak to. So who have been some mentors or coaches for you in the past?
So going way back to my IT days, I had some really great mentors, and not really coaches, but mentors and leaders and bosses. One in particular, Gary Toch. He hired me in 1996, and I worked for him till 2009 across 4 companies,
Oh,
including a startup company that we did during that time. So yeah, so he was a great one. Hugh Jones was another one. Hugh Jones had this amazing turn of phrase, and the story I always like to say about Hugh Jones is, yeah, we had started this company. We'd done really great for the first couple of years, but we could see we were kind of stagnant and whatever. This is 2000 to 2004 in this technology company. This is not the time to really be doing a technology company, right? This is in the dot bomb type thing. So, but he comes in 2000, late 2001, early 2002, and we're we've already got kind of an established culture, and we're in this conference room, and he's sitting in the back, and we're all at the table, and uh, our voices are getting louder and louder, and things are just getting a little bit more stressful, and some people are getting red faced and all this sort of stuff. And just in a very tiny pause in the conversation, Hugh Jones throws in a very calm tone of voice, he throws in, "Gentlemen, you are in violent agreement." And it was like everybody goes, "What?" It's like a brain reset or something. Violent agreement. I haven't ever heard those two words put together before, but that's exactly what was happening. We were all arguing for the same end result. We were just arguing about how to get there. And when he came in and he said, "You're in violent agreement," it was always like, "Oh, okay. So what is the best way to get there?" And then tension drained away and everything was great. He also said, because I was fairly new to managing at that level, and he said, managing is just adult daycare. And so that's always a phrase that sticks around with me. So that's good. On the coaching side of things, I have been coached by Chris McCluskey. He was the founder of Professional Christian Coaching Institute, where I did my coach training. I've been coached by Kim Avery. She's a great mentor of mine. She's more of a spiritual coach now. She created the Prepared Entrepreneur book and the Prepared Mastermind groups, and I've been part of those. I've led those. So those are some great ones that I've been through. I've been in several different masterminds. I'm actually in probably about 3 or 4 kind of peer masterminds right now with other
Mm.
coaches, and we kind of self-coach each other through these mastermind groups. So,
Oh
yeah,
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 I love that.
there's a lot of ways that you can have coaches in your life if you just look for it.
Yeah, and I know I've come across many different coaches in different sports, professions, different things like that, and some definitely better than others, and some definitely not so great. And it really comes back to just making sure that I'm surrounding myself with great people. So I want to ask you, how do you make sure that you're surrounding yourself or your clients are surrounding themselves if they're looking to get into like a new industry or just change career totally? How do they get their feet wet into that if they know they want to get in that world, they want to get around other individuals that have been in that world, but they might not know necessarily how to. What would some of your advice be for that?
I'd ask them what kinds of relationships do they have with those other industries, first of all. Maybe they know somebody that's working in that industry. Go take them out to lunch, or something like that. Buy them lunch and just pick their brain a little bit. And then don't be bashful about it. Just say, "Hey, I'm kind of interested in this industry you're working on. Can I buy you lunch if you'll let me pick your brain a little bit?" Type of thing. That's a great way to get these things started. You never know that they may turn into a great mentor for you, type of thing. Uh, so look for natural connections. Look through LinkedIn for people in those industries or in those companies where you work. See if you've got any connections. Ask for an introduction from somebody on LinkedIn that's a second degree connection to them, or whatever. Find a second degree connection. Find somebody that can introduce you. Those types of things. Networking groups, especially nowadays with so many groups that are virtual, just try them out, see if they work for you, type of thing. Don't be afraid to invest some money to go to new groups or whatever, just to see if they're a good fit for you.
Mhm.
I'm at the point where investing the time is a little bit more expensive to me than investing the money. But you got to evaluate things as you go through. So try it out, see if it's working for you. If it's not, okay, well, you've learned something, And but think about this: it's not just experience that is a good teacher, but it's evaluated experience. It's when
Hmm.
you take that experience and you think about it and think, okay, what was good about that? What was bad about that? How do I take that and apply it better in the future? What can I learn from it? That's actually one of my most favorite questions: is what can I learn from that experience?
Wow.
And you start putting those things together, you'll start growing and you'll start getting into those connections. They may not happen in your time frame, may not happen in the next 3 days or something like that, but it will happen if you keep persistent.
Yeah, I love that. Especially the reflection part on that too. I'm pretty big onto that, just personal and professional, making sure that I reflect and see how things are going and how things went. Did it go the way I wanted to, or at least expected? Or if not, what could I do in the future to change it, make sure that it goes a little more along the lines that I like? And I want to ask you because you've got such a experienced background in IT, and you mentioned using technology to kind of use as like a tool to kind of get into some of these networking events and stuff like that. How do you feel about technology and what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to ask, how important is it to still keep that human aspect of life? I feel like so many people are now trying to rely on different technologies and tools to help them with their business or get to where they want to go, but they often forget to like you said, just ask somebody out for lunch, like just have a human connection, just talk to somebody for a little bit
Hmm.
and see where it goes. So, how important is that for you and your coaching to just make sure that your clients are continuously staying human and doing the things that they need to do?
Yeah. Well, it's critical. I mean, there's just no way around it. The thing is that we as humans, we're built with a need for connection. And I don't care if you're extroverted or introverted or where you are on that spectrum, you still need some sort of connection. I'll say it this way: God was God always existed in community themselves, right? God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. It's always been a community. He created us with a need for community. And so you got to have that community around you. A lot of people don't get that with their biological families or whatever. And so a lot of times it's warped or it doesn't look right or whatever. And part of the science of growth and everything is, how did you grow? How did you get through these things? How did you survive? But the need for just being able to connect with another human is inherently built into us. I'll give you an example. I saw a video of a baby, probably, I don't know, 3 months old, something like that, was in a car seat and whatever. His mom was there interacting with him. And, he was joyous and he was happy and she was, just talking baby talk with him and all that sort of stuff. And you could see he was happy. And she turned away and then just came back with just a very neutral face. Okay. And did not react to the baby. And you could just see in 1 to 2 minutes, you could see how this baby got frustrated and angry. And then the baby was turning his face away and all this sort of stuff. No words, no logical process or whatever. But that just shows that we're wired for that connection, and that's why COVID was such a bad thing for the world as a whole, was it broke a lot of those human connections. And so yeah, you got to have it. And coaching is a very relational type of industry, type of profession anyway. If you don't connect with your clients, you're not going to be a good coach. Period. End of story. So you got to have that connection. You got to have that trustworthiness too. You got to be able to say, hey, I'm going to do this, and then carry through and actually get it done, because that helps people trust you. When they trust you, they're more open. And a lot of times you have to be vulnerable first. You have to say, hey, here's my dirty laundry. This is what happened to me. I have no problem talking about some hard things in my life. Went through a divorce that was just painful, just really not what I wanted at all. Okay, I went through it. I learned from it. I survived it. I learned that God's going to take care of me through it. And 5 years later, I met an amazing woman. I'm now remarried and actually have 3 kids and 4 grandkids that I never had before. So, life is good.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the relationship aspect of coaching and being able to share your own situation really levels the playing field too, because so many people seek advice, but then not everybody necessarily wants to be told exactly what they want to do. They want to share that experience in getting through places. So the fact that you're able to share certain situations and experiences that you've gone through helps make you more relatable, which then makes you more attractive to future clients and people looking to kind of seek your advice and such too. I totally love that. So now you're into the coaching world full time. You got a lot of things going on. What's next for Dale Young and the calling coach? What are things you've got going for this year specifically, like 2024?
So this year I'm planning on another probably 2, 3, maybe 4 challenges, 5-day challenges, or they might turn into 1-day super workshops, one or the other. But about 5 hours of me going through my calling framework. I've got a nice little diagram that I feel like God basically downloaded to me back in November of 2022. And it looks similar to Ikigai, but got 4 circles, but I think it's completely different. But it really helps people when you start walking through that framework. It starts helping you understand, these are pieces I can look at this piece kind of separate from this big calling thing, this big nebulous foggy calling thing that's out there. I can look at this piece and I can get some clarity around this piece. You do that for all 4 pieces and then put those pieces together. You get some clarity around what that foggy, nebulous calling thing that's out there in the future for you. So I do a 5-day challenge. You can check my information on my website or whatever, and it'll be out there if it's coming up. I do them about every 2 months, every 3 months, something like that. So, and it's a minor cost, $150, $147. But for the value that you probably get $500 to $1,000 worth of value just from those 5 days, the 1 hour a day, 5 days a week for 5 days. So yeah, that's one thing I'm doing. Still getting more clients in here. I will probably be a part of. I'm signed up to be part of another book project. Already been through 2 of them. Both of those were #1 bestsellers on Amazon. This one probably will be another #1 bestseller on Amazon. No guarantees always, but a 3-time #1 bestselling author. I do speaking and all that sort of stuff for people. So yeah, I've got a busy year ahead of me. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. But that's good. Keeping things moving and trying to provide as much value as possible to as big of an audience as you can. You said people can visit your website. Would you mind sharing where to get to your website? How to get there?
So website's very simple, coachdale.com.
Perfect. Nice and easy. And the best way to get in contact with you through the website or an email or?
Email is actually best, dale@coachdale.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Coach Dale. So I try and make it as easy as possible for people to find me.
Very nice. Yeah, perfect. Simplicity is the best. The easier you can get it, the better it'll be. Awesome. And so, Coach Dale, very busy guy. I want to make sure that I'm courteous of your time. So again, thank you so much for taking the time today to share a little bit about what you've got going on, a little bit about your story. But before I let you go, I got to ask you the famous question. What is your #1 piece of advice for surviving the side hustle?
It's going to be a combination of several people, really. Never give up is #1. When you give up your dreams, you die. That's #2. All kind of in the same vein here. But the whole idea is keep moving forward. Actually, just keep moving. Like I said, even if you take a step backwards, you got a different view. But keep moving, keep trying new things. 99.99% of the things you try are not going to be fatal. So learn from it and grow from it and just take it and say, if I can learn from it, it's going to be an improvement for me. So just keep moving.
I love that. So true, so powerful. Just keep moving. It's not always going to work in your favor, and when that doesn't always necessarily go the right way, take some time to kind of reflect, learn from the situation and the experience, and then just keep trying again. Coach Dale, again, thank you so much for taking your time today. Super busy. You guys heard him. Reach out to him on LinkedIn, on his website, his email. Get in touch with Coach Dale for one of his awesome events that he's got coming on this year, the workshop, the 5-day things. Reach out, see what's going on, and touch base with him as soon as possible. Coach Dale, thank you again so much, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Hopefully, maybe we can get you back on for another episode in the future.
I'm always up for talking to somebody else a little bit more about details, but yes, thank you. It's been an honor for me to be here.
All right. Thank you, and guys, we will talk to you soon. Peace.